Hello everybody, Gregor here. Yesterday I took a man at arms, hey Jason, and he asked me if I had any tips on how to use a greatsword. And the really cool thing about using a greatsword is you don't really have to be super fancy or know a whole lot of stuff. You just have to be relatively proficient with just a few ideas, and I'll go ahead and cover those here in this video. The very first thing I want you to do, Jason, is to make sure that you train with your armor on. At the very least, I know people are busy, but at the very least, train with your gauntlets on. You're really going to want that slight restriction that the armor creates because it does translate out to the field. So make sure that you're practicing with your stuff on because it will help you. The next thing I want to cover, man, is instead of facing your opponent kind of like how I am here in this camera and in this video here, is make sure that you just kind of make that little half a step to the side and then just turn and face your opponent, because it really does make a huge difference in the angles that it creates for both your defense as well as your attack. And you can do that to either side as well. So just make sure that you are lining up with your opponent just off to the side. Doesn't matter which one, but just make sure you do it just off to the side and go ahead and turn slightly and face them. And it'll give them that little subtle, hey, this guy's thinking linear, he's facing me straight on, we're both facing straight on. But in reality or not, you're actually off to the side just slightly, and that just a little half step makes a huge difference in you being able to get some shots in there. So go ahead and think about that. Now, the other thing I want you to think about is your range, yours and your opponent's as well. The most important thing about living as a great swordman is keeping that range, and it's important that you think about that. Now, I know you're not a really tall guy, you're actually a little tiny bit shorter than me, so it's going to be extremely important for you to always maintain that range. I will show you a few little tricks at the end of this video on how to get out of some situations, but always think your life revolves around keeping that range. Now, to add on to that just a little bit, whenever you are taking ground or retreating, you always want to think angles. Now, don't always think linear, which is straight forward and straight backwards. When you're retreating, it's extremely important that you don't go backwards all the time, because what's going to happen is they're going to outrun you, and they'll just end up gooning you in the head. So always think angles. And the reason why I say this, and it's extremely important, when you retreat or attack, gain ground in angles, what it does is it forces your opponent to turn and then react to what you're doing, and that little tiny bit of time, that it creates, is really beneficial to you, both in your attacks as well as your retreats, especially in your retreats. So always think angles. Now, I do step backwards, but I won't do it more than twice, like 2 steps. And I will do it to bait people so I can just immediately step on them when they're trying to take that big step straight in on me. But that's the only time. I won't go straight back for an extended period of time, because like I said, you will get run down and likely you will get gooned. So always think in angles. Now, the really cool guards that I use, and I really only use 2 of them. I use the high guard and I use the low guard. The high guard feeds off the fact that you're going to be doing a lot of sword blocks or attacking shoulders as people are stepping in on you. So that's what I use that for, and I'll demonstrate that here in a little tiny bit. The other one I use quite extensively is the low guard, where you're facing the poke at them just slightly and upwards towards their face, and it really plays off their paranoia of getting stabbed in the face, and they generally will make a huge lunge when you go and stab for it, and that really helps being able to pick up those little hip shots when you're stepping to the side. Either way, when they make that big step, and it'll get you a hip shot, which is a kill. So this is why the stance is actually pretty beneficial. It always preys off the people freaking out about getting stabbed in the face. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate that here in a little bit as well. Now, my basic guards. Oh, where did I stick my greatsword? Oh, there you are. Basic guards, like I talked about before, is my high guard. Really beneficial for those opening moments when they step in on you, you step on them, or you step in on them, and they go ahead and fire a blow at you. Now what I like to do in that moment is I'm standing in my ultimate stance, which I can move in any possible direction. And when they go ahead and step in on me, I will go ahead and pick which direction I want to go, and I'll step in on them. So now imagine the shot is coming in from this side. Something I would probably do is, if I could, I would go and attack the shoulder if I have my range and just end the fight right there. If he's gained a little too much ground faster than I expected, then generally I'll be in my high guard and I'll just attack down at their weapon as hard as I can. I will just attack their weapon. While I'm doing that, I'm stepping in at the exact same time, and then I attack their weapon with power, which pushes it off to the side, and then I do a nice little back cut to the head. Nothing really fancy, like I talked about before. Being good great swordsmen, it doesn't really involve a whole lot of fancy stuff. You're not going to have to go out there and stand on your head and have your arms tied behind your back and jump through hoops and everything. It really is simple, and it all revolves off of just a step in at an angle, a block, and a cut, and you can do that from either side. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate the other side. High guard. Now they're going ahead and attacking me on this side now. So the thing is, I'm going to do is I'm going to want to either step in and chop them on the shoulder as they're stepping in, or I'm going to step in and chop down at their weapon. And now I'm on the inside of their D. I just go ahead and make that little quick rotation, cut right for the head. It's really that simple. Those right there are probably what I get most of my kills off of. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you another one of my blocks, and it does come off of the high guard. You can go ahead and pick up snaps or backhands with this, it doesn't matter. So they go ahead and they come in and they cut at you, and you just go ahead and turn slightly to the side and cut. Now you can pick up snaps with this just by coming this way and then just do the little dip and cut, or you can pick backhands with it as well, and it's just kind of like a house rotation of your hips. You just rotate the hips and then cut to the head. Now I'll go ahead and show you one of my other ones that I like to do, and it all comes off of the low guard, feeding off that paranoia of being poked in the face. Now this angle right here, my arm is fully extended down as far as it can go, so you know that's in the right position. And then all you do is you lower the upper hand until it comes right in line with their face, and all they really do is they see the profile of the poke. The cool thing is you can parry extremely easy with it any direction. It doesn't matter what they do. But mainly what I like to do for this one is I like to set up my hip shots. And like we said earlier, hip shots are kills, and these are really cool. So when you go ahead and you start out, you do your thrust. Generally what that does is they're going to take that big giant, oh my god, I have committed step in on you, and you just step to the side and take the leg. And you can do that from either direction. Same thing, thrust to the face, step to this side, you pick up their block, come in for the cut them in the hip, and they're dead. Now really, I don't do a whole lot more than that, other than always attacking and retreating at angles. Those are the 4 cuts I use, man. If you notice, I don't have a butt spike on this. If you do want to put a butt spike on it, this is going to help you in the stuff I'm fixing to show you here in just a second. Now, just imagine you've broken one of the rules. You can't help it. It's going to happen to all of us. But your opponent has completely closed distance on you, and they're all the way in. Now, the things you're going to do is you're going to be doing the exact same thing you did before in the high guard, except you're going to keep your stance just like this, elbows back, swords nice and tight right here. And every single time, it doesn't, whichever direction that they fire the sword, if they're firing here, all you're doing, you're not moving your sword arms at all. All you're doing is a hip rotation. So you do the hip rotation, their sword's starting to come in, and you just chop right at it. And then do back cuts to the head. Same thing for the other side. They're coming at you from this way, wraps or snaps. And it's just that slight rotation to the side. That's all it is. And then a cut to the face. That's all this is. Blocks. And you just bring that bottom of the sword up. Make sure that the hilt of it back here is just slightly higher than the tip itself. That's going to help you get over the shield corners. Now I know you're just a slightly shorter guy, So that's really going to help you get over the corner instead of hitting like this and actually hitting their shield into their head. So create that slight angle. Now, so they're in close on you. I've already showed you the 2 blocks that I use. It's pretty much the only blocks that I use when I'm in close. It's just rotate, kill, rotate, kill. That's all you do. The way now to get out of a situation if they're too close and they're totally pushing you quite a bit is to just go ahead and step into them, push into their shield, push them back. You know, you can't contact them physically, but you can push their shield into them with your greatsword. Push them, and then just peel out whatever direction the sword is. If they're a right-handed fighter, it's going to be over there, so retreat away from it. Make them turn and face you. It's that whole angles philosophy. It's going to buy you time. You can do it from either side as well. Just make sure that whatever you do is you just peel out, get out of there, throw some shots, and just get out and reset. Go ahead and get your distance and start everything all over again. Now, the thing I want you to do now that I've shown you what I do, and like I said, I don't do a lot, but what I do is I do about 4 different things, but I do them really, really well. And if you can just keep on with just those few ideas that I've given you and expand on them, the one thing I'd like you to do is start visualizing. Imagine what your opponents can do to you and what you can do in those situations. And when you do that, you can actually create drills to practice those situations, and it's going to be a lot better for you. I'd like to say this is going to be a maximum of beatings type relationship like most knights and their men or women have, but that's not going to be the case. I'm going to teach you with some beatings, but for the most part I'm going to teach you how to train on your own and find yourself. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful for you, bro. I'm gonna go ahead and build more of them for you and expand off of this great sword here. Like I said, I don't do a lot of different things. I'm not really fancy with great sword, but what I do is I do a few things really well, and the philosophies that I talked about here in this video will keep you alive, and it will make you a pretty proficient great swordsman. And like I said, you only have to practice a few things to be half decent. So I hope this helped you, bro. I'm gonna make more of these for you. This is only the first of many, but go ahead and practice this right now. Now, the way I like to teach is I don't like to overwhelm people with too much information. So go ahead and practice this for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, and really go get those blocks down and those attacks I showed you. Watch this video over and over. They're really not all that hard. I kind of described what to do when people come in and step on you and what you do when you step in on them. Always think angles, keep your range, and I can't wait to see you next time after you've practiced this, man. So go ahead and let me know what you think, and I hope this helps you. Have a good night, and I'm going to go ahead and start my other video here in just a little bit. It's going to be another 5 pail tips video. So anyways, have a good one. Hope this helped you, Jason, most of all, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.